that's not for you, baby.
No, right, right.
You know?
Yeah. I love talking about that with women because I think that's a huge misperception, of self-care that it involves going to us. It's all about beauty and, going to the spa, getting her nails done, her hair done, and all those things. And it's not. I mean, it can be if that's your thing and it fits in your budget.
This ain't your average healing chat. It's healing through conversations with me, Lovely Brown. Real talk, deep healing, zero fluff.
Hey guys, this is Lovely with Lovely Esteem, and welcome back to a new episode of the Healing Through Conversations podcast. Today, we are here to talk about healing from the inside out, right? We're going to do it one story at a time, one laughter at a time, one real moment of talk at a time, because sometimes you think that you know a person, right? You think that you know what they've gone through. And then you hear a story and it changes everything. You now understand their why. And today I get to speak to Miss Natasha Norris. She is the owner and founder of Skincare by CMG, where she talks about healing from the inside out, how skincare is not only necessary, it's essential to growing. It's essential to learning how to take care of yourself. It's essential to self-love, self-care, self-reflection, and advocating for yourself. And just us understanding how important it is to really hear this story, like to hear our story from within and how that affects our outside. I think that when we are talking about people who are led by their spirit, led by their faith, led by their soul, who are people who know how to take their stories, their trauma and turn it into triumph, but not only turn it into triumph for themselves, they learn how to turn those stories into joy and connection and just a wonderful safe space and community for other people. I know that Miss Norris is one of those people who wants to see you win because you deserve to win, not because she wants you to win, right? And she believes in a different kind of luxury, a different kind of transformation, a different kind of tenderness, a different kind of honesty when it comes to self care, when it comes to mental health, when it comes to mental well being, when it comes to what it looks like to find joy, especially as we're getting older, and what it looks like to not only reach back to our elders and bring them along for the journey, but what it looks like to reach forward and realize that our future lies in the people that we help empower, the people that we help uplift, the people that we help just find safe spaces to connect and heal through the power of not only skincare, but self care. It makes such a big difference. So I know you guys are going to enjoy Miss Natasha Norris. This is going to be such a good one. I already know it. Like, I feel it in my bones. It's going to be such a blessed conversation. Hey guys, this is Lovely with Lovely Esteem, and welcome to the Healing Through Conversations podcast. We are going to have such a great conversation today. When I spoke to Miss Norris, one of the things that I enjoyed about her energy is that she was so open and her smiles. Like she came in like, "Hey, we're gonna have a good conversation. We're gonna figure out if we match. If we do, we do. If we don't, we don't." But what really happened when we were having that conversation, it felt such a blessing to have that conversation with Miss Norris, because what happened is that we started bonding over just how much we want to break generational curse, how much we want to be the new trendsetters for our communities, how we want to show you how to love yourself from the inside out. We want to teach you that what you do, like the healing work that you do on the inside, will absolutely show on the outside. And once it starts coming on the outside, what you can do to make that work. And I think that her company, Skincare by CMG, is just the company for you when you're thinking about that. What it looks like to not only look at yourself from a holistic standpoint, your mind, body, and soul, your spirit, but also what it looks like to have a sister girlfriend, a cousin, a coach that you can go to and talk to them about the things that's happening in your life, and them not for them to not make you feel afraid or intimidated by doing so. We're creating safe spaces for women to grow and understand themselves. And I am so excited to talk to Miss Natasha Norris. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Please introduce yourself.
Oh, good evening. And thank you so much for the opportunity to come on your podcast and share this evening. I'm excited to be here and I can't wait to just dive into the conversation. But um, as you mentioned, I'm Natasha Norris. First and foremost, I'm a woman, right? First and foremost. I'm also a wife. I'm a mother to three amazing bossy fur babies. I'm a veteran. I served 26 years in the Navy. I'm also an author, a speaker, and I'm also the founder of Skincare by CMG, a full spectrum plant-based skincare line. But most importantly, I would say the one thing that I would want you to take away about me, or that I want my legacy to be about, is that I'm a servant. I'm a servant of God and of people.
I
So,
love that. I love that. And with that, I think when we first met and we did a one-on-one, I try to make sure that our one-on-ones are very kind of cozy and interactive. And I had to pull over to the side of the road that day because it was raining and then the sun started coming out and it was so crazy. But the amount of blessings that happened during that conversation, like the amount of joy and the amount of sisterhood and the amount of support and even like the amount of healing that happened as we were talking to each other just felt so familiar because I think sometimes when you are in spaces like this, or podcasts, it can, or when you don't know a person and we meet each other virtually, it can feel kind of stale or a little, there was like a gap there. But I think
mhm.
that I was so connected with you. I just was like, oh my God, we're going to have such a great conversation. So take us back. What
Yeah.
made you think I'm going to become an entrepreneur?
Oh my goodness. So I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I've always wanted to be my own boss. I never knew what that really, looked like until because I've been a part of several different companies, everything from record labels to perfume. And then I found myself in the beauty industry in 2012, 2013, and just fell in love with the transformation in women from the inside out. And so for me, that triggered a lot for me just from my own journey in life. And so I knew that that was something that I wanted to do, was to have my own skincare line, but I wanted to make sure that, it was toxin chemical free especially after doing a lot of research.
Mm.
On how chemicals and ingredients and things impact the skin, whether you're breathing them in or you're putting them on your skin. And so I just wanted to offer my customers that. Now that's how it started. Okay. I thought that I was doing, Natasha was doing her own thing and God was up there working on something just out of this world, right?
As he does, we always think we have the plan. And then we look over and be like, well, who are you? And be like,
Yeah.
oh, that's what you're going to do. Oh, Lord. Okay.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Because I struggled with, how do I, I'm passionate about pouring into young girls and women. I'm passionate about, skincare and self-care. How do I merge the two? And he's like, hello. It's your journey of healing and self-care is, right there. Like, why are you not sharing your story and helping other women? Your testimony is not for you, it's for somebody else. And I'm like, oh,
Mm,
okay, God. All right. So, you know, and of course, it doesn't happen as easy as I'm saying it, right? There's,
yeah.
always the pushback and like, is that really what I'm supposed to do? Is that really what you said? Or, and fear, right?
Mhm.
So, but yeah, it was important to me to do this, especially, Skincare by CMG is definitely, um, born out of my own journey of healing and self-care and how it's evolved. And it's funny how, I mentioned that that's how it started. It's evolved into this thing. But even from the very beginning, I knew that my tagline was going to be self-care in a bottle. I knew that this line was going to be connected to self-care and empowering women in some way. I just couldn't see it yet, right? And so, after facing my own challenges and, childhood trauma and bullying and all the things, and a chronic health condition, right, that forced me to confront the ways in
Mhm.
which my physical and emotional well-being were intertwined. I think as I navigated my healing process, I realized the importance of not just nurturing the skin, but also nurturing the soul. And so I wanted to create, a platform that could support others in their own self-care journeys and providing them with, products that are not only effective, but, designed with love and mindfulness in mind. And so that's, we've kind of come full circle now to like, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. I'm walking in my purpose, and it's just amazing.
And which I love. And I love the fact that you've taken your past experiences, both successes and failures, because the failures are lessons. We don't
Right.
look at them as lessons as they're happening because it feels like super huge, big lessons that happen sometimes. But they're lessons that we're being taught. And as you said earlier, perfectly, it's not to help us. It's lessons for the next person we meet, that next big move that we make, that level up that we can't see yet because we're stuck in the forest, right? And we can't see through the
Right.
trees. So I think that when you talk about your past experiences, you uplift people in a way that you don't understand. Like as we get over the anxiety of the first time we tell the story, and
Mhm.
then we get over the anxiety of the 30th time we tell the story, because when you tell your stories, especially when trauma's attached to it, you relive that. But,
Oh, yeah.
but as you relive that, something happens, the metamorphosis of who you become, like that caterpillar. You start to come out of that and you start to realize,
Yeah.
oh, I was supposed to, I was strong enough to, I was a
Yes.
soldier in this. So
Yes.
can you kind of just elaborate a little bit about how your past experiences kind of changed the way your mission of your business and the mission of your brand, how it went and that, became more about the inside than even the outside?
I think um the defining moment for me was when I started using skincare as a tool to reconnect with myself during my healing journey. I'd always thought of skincare as a routine to just improve your appearance and things like that. But as I incorporated more mindfulness into my daily rituals, slowing
Mhm.
down, breathing, and truly being present while
Mhm.
caring for my skin, it became something far more profound, right? Um, I talk a lot about, there's a difference between doing what we're taught to do, get up, wash face, brush teeth, you know what I mean? Going through the motions of what we're taught and actually slowing down, taking a minute, looking at your skin, right? So when things pop up or happen, that's a skin tag that wasn't here last week,
Mhm.
all the things, and paying
Mhm.
attention to what your skin needs. It's then skincare, is no longer, just about beauty. It becomes almost a meditative experience, right? And so
Yes.
it was in those moments that, I realized how powerful self-care could be for emotional healing,
Mhm.
bringing not only the visible radiance, but also a sense of inner peace, and self-worth. So that's just, yeah.
Look, I had goosies because that is, for me, one of the things that I enjoy the most about taking care of myself is taking care of my skin, especially when I started really learning how to heal in a spiritual way, right? Like, and not a religious way, and not knocking that at all, but there's something so very spiritual about taking the time to take care of yourself, taking the time to pay attention to how you feel on the inside, right? When you have to take that, I always call it like the mirror ritual, where you stand in the mirror and you look yourself directly in the eyes as you're cleaning your face, as you're saying your affirmations to yourself, right? Those times where you are like, oh my gosh, here's another wrinkle, but what does that mean? hey, that means you lived a little bit longer. You've laughed a little bit more. You have a little more wisdom on you. Or it could mean, have you slept well? What did you eat yesterday?
Right.
Like these little things that I think about, but the standard of beauty in the regular world, it
Hmm.
teaches you how to buy all these things to mask you so much that you kind of forget
Yeah.
what like who you are and what you do. So like when you say you have self-care in a bottle, like describe that for us and what what kind of personality would you say that your self-care in a bottle kind of carries?
Um, Personality, nurturing. Um, I think to me, self-care in a bottle, it represents, of course, more than just the product itself. It's a ritual. It's a moment of intentional self-love and nurturing.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think, when I created Skincare by CMG, I wanted each bottle to embody the feeling of being cared of and cherished, right? And so it's just about taking a pause in the middle of our day to honor ourselves, to remind, our bodies and our minds that we're worthy of love, rest, rejuvenation. And so every product is crafted to not only nourish your skin, but also to encourage you to slow down and be present in the act of caring for yourself. Because, like I said, we go through the motions of what we've been taught. And so, self-care in a bottle is just a reminder that self-care doesn't have to be complicated or time-consuming. It could be something as simple as a thoughtful gesture or cleansing your skin.
I love that. And speaking of that, there are some women who feel guilty about taking care of themselves, right? Like I've been having these conversations with a lot of women who have really had to fight the guilt that they carry with them or the shame of, oh, you're a mother. Why are you doing this? You're doing too much. You're being too much, right?
Yeah.
And what would you say to someone who's kind of struggling with the idea or, yeah, the idea of taking care of themselves versus the way the world kind of comes at you as a woman that somehow you just wake up out of the bed looking like that. Like you don't have to take care of who you are so that you can
Yeah.
be available to everybody.
Yeah. The first thing I would say to that woman, and that I've said to myself, is you have to find a balance between living your role and living for you. A lot of
Mm,
us as women, we get caught up and we live our roles. And we live our roles for so many years that when the kids leave and the house is empty, we're left trying to figure out who we are. What do I really
mm,
like? What do I like? What are my
mm,
hobbies, right? Because we've been living
mm-hmm.
our role and not living for ourselves. So I would tell them, that first. And if you're feeling guilty about prioritizing yourself, I would tell them that, you're absolutely worthy of care, of love, and attention. And, that what you give out, when you're nurturing others, you absolutely gotta, give it back to yourself. And so, and we do as women, we feel pressured to put others, needs ahead of ours because we're supposed to show up.
Yeah.
But self-care isn't selfish. It's essential. It's taking care of yourself in such a way that it doesn't diminish your ability to care for others, right? In fact, it enhances it because now you're refilling your cup and now you're not, pouring, you're pouring from a full place, right? And you're able to do it as your best self and not as
Mhm.
your empty, frustrated, I'm so tired, just leave me alone self. You know what I mean? And so prioritizing yourself is an act of strength. It's not selfishness, and it definitely sets an example for others, especially those who look up to you. That self-love and self-care is important.
I love that. And I'm all about adult joy right now. Like, just as I really feel like I have a year before I'm 50, and I'm just really starting to embrace the fact that it's okay to find joy as an adult. I know sometimes adulting can, woo, it be hitting you with like you feel like it was a drive-by every 4 or 5 days. You're like, Lord, slow down a little bit. It's just give me something.
Yes.
But I think that those quiet moments for a lot of people that's the time where you have to take a moment and figure out where your boundaries are. Yes, you can be a servant to others. Absolutely. Because when you serve others, you absolutely get it back tenfold majority of the time. But it's
Yeah.
within boundaries, right? Because
Right.
if you are always on call, if you are always on 100, if you're always 24/7 pouring into everybody else, there's no time for you to connect with you and you will lose you. So
Right.
many of us, we lose ourselves. And I think especially as Black and brown women, within our cultures, the servant role is it can be stifling. Okay,
Yeah.
because you're not just serving in church, you're serving at home, you're serving in the community, and then outside of your community, when you go to work and you're working for corporate, you're perceived to be this very motherly auntie type. You can handle everything that comes at you, and on top of having to show up 10 times better, always on point with your looks, always on point with what you're saying, that there's never a chance for you to like put your shoulders down and
Yes.
just slow down. So like what's a ritual that you would give someone who was just kind of starting in this self-care lane? What would you tell them, like just like one tip to take a deep breath and get the shoulders down?
Yeah. So a lot of times when we talk about self-care, to women, especially busy women, it can come off as another chore, another thing to
Mm-hmm,
add to the
mm-hmm,
list, right? And we
mm-hmm.
don't want that. So I always say, start small, right? Doesn't have to be anything major, big, just like you said, it could be just a few minutes, just alone to just shut the noise out and bring yourself down. It could be, 5 minutes of meditation, 10
Mm-hmm.
minutes where you sit in a corner and read a book or the Bible, whatever it is
Mm-hmm.
that you want to do. Go outside and hang out on the porch and in nature, go for a quick walk. But start small, do it unapologetically, right? And change your perspective, right? When it comes to self-care. It's not about, getting beautified or going to spas and doing all this, deep crap that a lot of us don't have time to do. It's really about shifting the focus from that to it being more about your inner wellness, right? Because when you like what you see in the mirror and you feel good in your body, you feel good
Mm,
all around, right?
speak on it. Speak on
So,
it. Because listen, I'm like, I spent a lot of years thinking that I was taking care of myself. And then around 37, I cracked. Like I had a moment where I started crying, and it took me about 3 months to stop crying.
yeah,
And as a Black woman in a non-Black environment, that is absolutely like walking around with a target on your back. That's how it's perceived,
yeah,
absolutely, right?
yes.
And so you try to figure out ways to adjust yourself, right? You
Hmm.
stop talking, you withdraw from multiple conversations, you kind of like become standoffish. On top of that, you're now irritated because how dare I have to deal with this thing right now? But the thing isn't something that you know how to deal with because we aren't taught how to take a deep breath, take a moment, and say,
No.
hey, you've gone through a lot. All right. And you can run from it to a certain point, but at some point, the garbage is going to start attacking the front door,
Oh yeah,
you know?
for sure.
And that was one of the big things that kind of helped me pivot in my journey, where I started asking more questions, right? I
Hmm.
started being able to say no. I started stop feeling guilty for saying no. And
Hmm.
and that part was like such a huge weight for me. Like it was such a huge weight for me. So can you talk to us about what like as you were pivoting in your healing journey, what things really helped you feel grounded for Natasha, like to be able to pour back into us the way you are?
The power that I found in no. Oh my gosh, the power that I found in no and being unapologetic about it and not feeling guilty about it.
Mm.
Oh,
It
get
feels
away.
like a warm sweater. It feels like
Yes.
a night in the corner with no bra. I'm like, just,
Okay.
just we are just hanging out. Like, yes.
Yes. Yes, the power that you regain from that. For me, when I saw that, now mind you, I went about everything all the way wrong. You talked about setting boundaries. I just cut everybody off. I didn't set any boundaries. I just
Look,
closed
I
the
had
door
some
to
cutoffs, but
everybody.
you know what? In order to establish boundaries, you do go to a period where you almost like an allergy test. You take everything out and then you
Yeah.
slowly start adding things back in. And when it irritates you, you take it back out. But and it's hard to do that with people because when you like, I love you, but when I
Yeah.
talk to you, my arms get tired, my shoulders get tight, my neck is
Yes.
tight. Why do I feel that? Why is my spirit rubbed by yours? Or why am I rubbing your spirit the wrong way? Every time we get together, it's a push and pull. How do we fix
Yes.
this? Right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
some
I
of that
can't
is
do
just
it.
when you're unhappy with yourself and when you haven't dealt with your trauma, it shows up at the wrong time. I'm like, hey, why are you here? It's like, well, you didn't call me last night, so
Here I
here I am. And I say that, and the closer I am to really being intentional about healing, the closer I am to my spirituality. The
am.
closer
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? The closer I am to really like lining up the soldiers that I need and
Yes.
creating safe spaces, as we talked about earlier. So, talk about the safe spaces that you're creating and the communities that you're creating with regards to not only healing from the inside out, but also seeing themselves as beautiful creatures that deserve to have all the love that they deserve.
Oh, yeah. So what I like to do is I like to curate these spaces where women can come in. I'll have, one or two estheticians come in, depending on how many women are attending, and they'll get facials, and I'll
Mm.
set up a bloom bar so they can take home a beautiful bouquet, and we'll have mimosas and, eat food, and we'll have a panel. We'll just sit around and we'll talk about things that matter to us, right? Conversations that, need to be had that aren't being had, but things are happening in our bodies and we're confused because we don't know what the heck is going on.
Yes.
So we talk about those things so that we're educated, especially, the women who are in their 20s and early 30s who are going into the stages we're in, right?
Yep. Yep.
And I don't want them to go in blind. You know what I mean? I don't want them trying to figure out, well, why when I wake up every morning my hip hurt. Am I, am
What
I
is
doing
why is
something
frozen shoulder? Why is my shoulder frozen?
frozen?
Baby, that's
Yeah.
lack of hormones. It's coming.
It's
It's coming.
coming.
Be prepared.
Yeah. And so that's what we do. We just have a good time. People are like, well, am I supposed to wear a certain color? No. Whatever makes you feel beautiful. And that's what the day
Absolutely.
is all about. It's about making sure that the women in that room feel seen,
Mm.
feel heard,
Hmm.
feel valued, and just get pampered. Just have a day to be pampered and let somebody, dote on you
Yeah.
for a day, And so that's what I love to do. I love sharing my story with them as a way to empower and inspire them to like, hey, like you said, self-care, it's essential, it's a necessity, it's not a luxury, it's not a choice. This is the days of thinking about it,
Hmm.
are gone because I don't know if it's stuff that they're putting in our food, how we're evolving, but I'm telling you it will catch up to you.
The
And if you
burnout is
don't,
real.
yeah, if you don't sit in it, sit down and sit in it, God's gonna sit you down.
And
He's
he
gonna
sits
sit
you
you
down
down.
so disrespectful. You'd be like, hey, hey, hey. I tell people all the time, if you don't take care of yourself, God
Mm-hmm.
doesn't go, oh, I'm just going to make you tired. He's like, oh, no, we're going to
Mm-mm.
hit you with the flu. We're going to hit,
Yeah,
you're like, hey, hey, bud, hey, can
yeah,
we talk? I mean, I know you
yeah.
have other things to do, Lord, and I appreciate you. Like, I don't want you to take your hand off the heart, but if you could run that back, I could probably do something different, you know?
Right.
But I'm like, the faith that you have to walk into fear, if fear is the thing that's holding you back from taking care of yourself, your faith
Mm-hmm.
is always going to outshine that fear, right?
Yeah,
And sometimes you
yeah.
need that fear to level up because you sometimes have to have you need to bully yourself into greatness sometimes. Or
Yes.
hopefully you have a wonderful sister circle or a community of women who might see you, hey baby, you look down. Talk about it. Tell us what's going on. Because
Right.
I feel like when we had our conversation, our first conversation, that was something we really connected over, that we are the new generation of storytellers. We're the new
Yeah.
generation of ancestors. Like, I know people get afraid about aging, but aging looks so different now.
Yeah.
I'm like 50
Yeah.
now and 50 during the Golden Girls. Those are two different
Two
50s,
different
baby.
50s.
Two different 50s. But realizing that our voices count. People need to see you. They need to see
Hmm.
people who look like them. Talk about stories that reflect them. Perimenopause, menopause, what it looks like to be married, divorced, single, what it looks like to have children, no children, what it looks like
Yeah.
to have a illness, not be the illness. You just happen to be a
Huh.
person who has an illness that doesn't define who you are, but how you work through that, what it feels like to
Yes.
be emotionally stunted from childhood, what it looks like to have grown up with nothing and find something, what it looks like to grow up with something, lose your something and then find it again. Like we're
Yes.
all working on this. So like when we're talking about self-care, we're not just talking about self-care, right? What we're talking about is you loving you so much that everybody else's opinion doesn't count. It's just you and God.
Doesn't matter. It does not matter. It's all about you. What makes you feel good? What makes you smile? What makes you warm and fuzzy on the inside? Who cares what the person next that laying next to you likes? That's their thing. You know?
Absolutely. Speak on it, Natasha. Like seriously, we spend so many years being told how to act that we lose ourselves in the titles. We lose
Yeah.
ourselves in the labels. And some of us, honestly, will be very honest. We know you've been told what to do since you were little. You haven't ever had a chance to be you. Your inner child is trying to figure out who it is and what it loves. But that's when you
Yes.
step out into the fearfulness. You say, okay, I'm kind of afraid to step into this group, or I want to go meet with these group of women, but I've never met any of those women. Come
Yes.
in,
Yes.
come
Yes.
in.
It's so funny you say that because it just made me think about myself and my journey, how, I was 41 before I really started putting myself first and taking time to realize the things that I liked, the things that I really particularly didn't care for. And that was through healing, right? Before I was just so broken. I
Mm-hmm.
was just going through the motions of life. And what I didn't know is, of course, one of the responses to trauma is you become a workaholic, right? Because you're just
Ugh.
trying to stay busy so you don't think about it. And unconsciously, that's what I was doing. Everybody used to always say, "I'm such a workaholic. You're always at work. You're always doing
And
something."
you find good, you glowing in it. You like, yes,
Yeah, because I'm thinking I'm
yes,
doing something.
yes. I got another degree, brought another
You're
house,
right,
got another
bam.
car. Are you happy? Whoa, 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 whoa. Pump your brakes, okay?
We're not talking about happiness.
You calling my mother names? That's what we
Yeah.
doing? You know? Like, I'm satisfied with what I'm doing right now. Are you really satisfied? My therapist,
Yeah.
I tell the story all the time. My therapist said to me, he said, what do you like to do? And I said, I'm sorry. And he said, who are you outside of all of your titles? I said, I don't pay you to talk to me. He said, yes, you do. You actually pay for me to talk to you. I started crying. I said, you should have just called my mother a name because we get so wrapped up, and you're
Yeah.
so right. I always talk about the childhood trauma, and it's the ACE, the adverse childhood experiences. I could be
Mhm.
saying them wrong, but it has 10 questions, and the questions are like, did you grow up in a house with somebody who may have gone to jail? Did you grow up in a house with someone who had a drug addiction? Did you grow up with someone who was abusive to your parent? Not even to you per se, to your
Mm.
parent. Did you grow up with someone who was abusive to you? Did you feel neglected? Did you feel loved? And we start going down this list, and I'm like tallying it up. And when
Yeah.
I get to number 6, I'm like, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore, right? Like, We
Yeah.
need to stop. And it was just basically letting you know that the higher your number, the more likely you're to have a chronic illness, the more likely you are to have trouble with relationships, the more likely
Mm.
you are to um, just have more issues with connecting with people and yourself. And when I tell you, and I was 37 when I had the breakdown, but it took me about 3 or 4 years to really admit that something was wrong. Because I was trying to fix it. Autocorrect is what we do.
Oh yeah. Oh, I
I'm gonna
walked out
change.
on two,
I'm
three
gonna change
therapists.
my hair. I'm gonna change my hair. I'm gonna change the way I dress. I'm gonna lose weight. Maybe it's the
Mm-hmm.
weight. It's the weight. It's what
It's
I'm
the
eating.
way. Yeah.
It's not my
Mm-hmm.
mind, because my mind is the
No.
only thing that ain't changed yet. But I'm still
Right.
trying to
I'm
work on
good.
that. And when I started really getting heavier and becoming certified in all these different places within mental health and doing a lot of the studying, and I just ran across these ACEs, and I said, my God, we're dying
Mm-hmm.
because the trauma is literally eating us alive. But we've been told all our lives, you should accept struggle love. You should
Mm-hmm.
accept a mother who talks to you and bullies you and takes you down. So what, your father's not really involved in your life. Your mother's supposed to take care of that.
Yes.
If a man doesn't talk to you this way, our family, we don't take the men in our lives. We like being single. We don't need these kind of men. The women in our family, we do. We don't get married. Who the hell? Who is we?
Right, right, right,
So like all
right.
of us, we're walking around with all of this baggage that's not ours. We got our mom's baggage, we got our grandmother's baggage, we got our auntie's baggage, and we
Yes.
haven't even been in a relationship yet. But we
Right,
know how we gonna handle that relationship, right? No, we don't.
right. Well,
Because we can't even have a serious relationship with God because we're so afraid of all the men.
right. Or ourselves. Can't have a
Hello?
relationship with ourselves.
You know?
Because we're broken and don't even know we're
We
broken.
don't, because it's normal. It's
Right.
normalized to be broken. Oh, if you're a broken woman, all you need to do is pour more into people. You need to get more degrees. You need a new house. You need a new job. You got 3 jobs, get a fourth job. It's like,
Yeah.
how many jobs you want me to get, baby? Because I really don't have the time, but I guess.
Right.
So like and that's what I think you and like your message of hope and you sharing your story is what I really feel like that's your superpower. It's that
Yeah.
connecting with people, and particularly you really talk, because when we spoke, you talked about like domestic violence, but like in a different way. You talked
Hmm.
about what it looks like to be a woman now and looking back at your younger self and being like, baby, you didn't even know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So can you
Yeah.
elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, so to give a little context for the your listeners, so from the ages of 4 to 15, I was mentally, physically, sexually abused in every household that I lived in. And so, as a kid, I was always taught to speak when you're spoken to, be seen, not heard. You don't say anything. And my mom was very strict. And she didn't believe in, whooping with belts. It was all fists, feet, pans. You get beat into the oven. We still joke about that, even though it's not funny. But
We
it's,
laugh at trauma so much in our generation. It's just not even
right.
well, yeah.
Yeah. And so I pushed through. And at 15, I left home, the last home that I lived in with family members, and because I was being molested there, left and got a job at Wendy's and moved in with a girlfriend who was in college and ended up being, brutally sexually assaulted by a friend of a friend's boyfriend. So it was like I couldn't escape it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But by this point in my life, I'm already labeled a bad kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
So who's
Mm-hmm.
gonna believe the girl that has been to all these different places? You done left home at 15 because you thought you was
It's
grown,
grown.
you
Oh,
know,
oh,
that
it's just,
part, right?
ugh.
So I push through, right? And so I ended up back in Los Angeles, was going to school during the day, was going to school at Crenshaw High at night, and was going to cosmetology school 3 days out the week, 8 hours on Saturday to graduate. Again, pushing through,
Pushing
staying
through.
busy, right?
Yep.
Then after that, I ended up joining the military, push through, 20, well, I was in for 26 years, but it was in 2000, 16, 17, 2017, when I just suddenly, and it was sudden. I went from being able to multitask, manage stress. I don't know, however many hundreds of sailors, dealing with all the things to, oh my God, he just gave me an extra task. I'm going to die.
Yes.
It was like, it was too much. It
The
was like, he
one
just,
feather. That one
yeah.
feather.
Exactly. And it was like that with everything. And then it was, I was waking up and it was just all this pain. It would be
Mm.
days where it felt like I was walking on needles, or, just hip pain, joint pain, all different places of my body. And I'm going back and forth to the doctors for 2 years testing, and they're like, oh, we can't find anything wrong, but, maybe it's behavioral. Maybe, you're making it up. It's a mental health issue. It was that, it was, I think, you might have some body shame issues and you need some counseling about how you see yourself in your body. And I'm like, okay, it's not that. I know something is wrong. I know my body. And so they finally, because I just advocated for myself, and they finally sent me to a rheumatologist. Who diagnosed me. And I was like, oh, thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah. I got a diagnosis. What's the treatment plan? Let's go. Give me the pill, the juice, whatever it is that I got to take for the next 72, 48, whatever it is, hours, so we can move on, because we're pushing through,
Because we're
right?
pushing through.
We're pushing through. And he's like, no, I'm not gonna prescribe you anything. What I am gonna do is give you a consult to see a therapist, because typically when women present these, symptoms at this stage in life, it's typically due to unprocessed childhood trauma.
Stop.
So everything,
Yes.
yes,
Ah.
everything that I had wrapped up in that pretty box and put that nice, beautiful bow on and
Mm.
sat somewhere back here for
And it's a
all
ticking
those
time bomb.
years. Yes, all those years. At 41, 42, I'm now having to deal with things that happened between ages 4 and 15. Not only that, now I have a chronic illness that's incurable that I have to deal with every day of my life, because I can't, and I won't say that it was because I didn't get the help that I needed, because you don't know what you don't
You
know,
don't
right?
know what you don't know.
The things that I was doing, it was because I was broken, but I didn't know that I was broken. I was just pushing
Pushing through.
through. And so when he told me that, I just broke down, because it's like, my God, like, how
What you mean I can't fix this? What do you mean there's no cure for this?
here? Yeah.
Right? Like
So what
like
does
you're
this
you're the
look
doctor. Where's
right?
where's your thing? Where's your miracle
Yeah.
worker? Where's
Come
Dr.
on.
House? I need House to come in here, stick me in the leg and fix it.
Fix it, right? Just give me the pill, the cook it, whatever it is, the juice, like I said, and let's fix it and move on. And he's like, no.
No,
And
but and I don't even mean to interrupt you, but this is what I mean when I say please try to take the ACE. It's a free test that you can go online and take, because depending on your number, we're more likely to have autoimmune or develop autoimmune disorders because of the childhood trauma, because the trauma lives inside of our cells. It lives in our organs. It affects how we grow. It affects how we heal. And it
yes,
is absolutely the tumor that's living in us in a very different way. And yes, you may
yes,
not be able to get healed per se, but the earlier you know what you're dealing with, the earlier you'll be able to start managing what you're going through. That's all I want to say. I'm sorry. Go back. You go.
yes, no, I will foot stomp that. I 100% agree. And it's not easy. It's scary. It's
Mm-hmm.
very scary. And
Mm-hmm.
I walked out on the first two, maybe three therapists, right? Because they were telling me things that I wasn't ready to hear. They told me that I was on the verge of a mental breakdown, and I could not process that. No, I'm not. I'm not crazy. You don't know what you're talking about, Mr. Therapist.
Yep.
I, grab my
You went to school
pocketbook.
for this, but
You
I know.
Right. Okay. Me and Dr. Google, we we know what's going on, right? Walked out. And it's hard work. It's scary.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get real honest and real vulnerable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it takes two, three, four people till you find that right one, right? Like
Yes.
you needed that one that was, you was like, don't be talking to me like that. You know what I mean? And I
I know.
needed that
I feel
too.
pushed. And he was like, I'm gonna push you until you don't want to be pushed no more. And then I'm gonna push you again.
Again.
But I need you. The interesting part about therapy is you do want to find someone that you connect with. It could be either culturally, it could be spiritually, it could be somebody who really just understands what the triggers are in you and know how to maneuver around those. But then
Yes.
there's some of us where we're so hard-headed, or if we were the oldest, or if we were the black sheep, we had to build this really weird wall around us, and it's so hard to crack because we on the inside we're looking at you like, can you just come get me, come
Yes.
fix me, come hold me, come
Yes.
talk to me? But that wall that you built, we're like, I am a slave inside of the wall as well, right? And
Hmm.
I don't
Hmm.
know I don't know what I need to say. Like, we can articulate our feelings of, we don't like this, but when it
Hmm.
comes to the emotional feelings, that vulnerable side of us, where we have to tell you, like, because some of us, we still protecting people that we shouldn't be protecting,
That part.
you know? So
How
we're
long did
like,
I do that?
we're engaging with conversations, but thinking to ourselves, will this send this person to jail? What if this person finds out? What are they going to say about me? Is the attack going to come from this side or that side? Right.
Right.
So a lot of us is still, so it's so much that you deal with when you are going to a therapist. But the great thing, if you find the therapist that works for you, they're there for you. They're
Yeah.
not there for anybody else.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And there's, as scary as it is, um, as hard as the work is, right? And the work is only hard because we got to get out of our own way.
Mm-hmm.
That's what makes it hard. We'd be standing there on the other side of the wall, peeking over, making sure, yeah, yeah, we ain't breaking this down. That's what makes it's hard, but the healing,
Mm.
the freedom, the power, the voice that
Mm-hmm.
healing gives you in return for that work is more than worth it. The peace of mind that I have, the understanding that the things that happened to me were not my fault, that
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a bad kid, I was a broken kid, I was a hurt kid. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm not the narrative that they wrote for me. I don't owe anybody anything. And you know what? Every single adult that was charged with taking care of me and keeping me safe failed. And that's not my burden to carry. That is theirs. So,
Abso-freaking-lutely. We want to look. You want us to put a t-shirt on? You can put it across the screen, because there are so many of us, especially us in our 40s, 50s, and 60s, are carrying
yeah,
around shame from the actions of the adults who they weren't taken care of,
yeah,
and then they don't take care of us. But then when they get sick, they want us to come back and take care of them. But how can you take care of somebody that you're afraid of? How can you take care
right.
of somebody that you don't have respect for? And a lot of us are really starting to deal with the ramifications of living in spaces where we weren't taken care of. Like, at some point, you have to get past the point of, I'm an adult and I have to heal me. But in healing me
Hmm.
means that I may have to eradicate you. You can't be in my space.
That's
I
right.
don't wish you any harm. I
Right.
don't, like, that's not my burden to bear. I'm not your God. I can't tell you what to do with your life. But for
Right.
me to live in
Hmm.
my body as fully as possible, you
Hmm.
can't be in my space. It is
Right.
not, that's my boundary. Like, when I talk
Right.
about boundaries, people always laugh. I'm like, oh, I will block you. I'm I am a blocker. Blip blip. Okay. And then you're not there anymore. And it's not that I don't want you to do well. I wish you well in your space, just not in my
Not
space.
in mine. Right.
Not in mine.
Right.
You know? And that is so big, because that is like, but I love your message of hope, right? It
Hmm.
can get better. It doesn't mean we're at
Yes.
100%. Most of us at 75.
Right. There's always going to be good days and bad days and ups and downs and roller coasters because of life. That's just life, right? And there's going to be days where you're going to, think back to what happened and just, maybe have a bad day. You never know. But the point of, getting therapy and the help that you need is not to cure all of that and to make it all go away. It's to give you the tools
Mm-hmm.
that you need to work through those times, right? So now you're maybe going through those things now and you haven't, gotten any assistance or support. And your response to those days are, I don't get out of bed, I don't bathe, I don't brush my teeth, I don't eat, I don't care for my children. They know your mommy's just having a bad day, so they leave me alone, right? If you're
Mm-hmm.
experiencing all of those things, you need some help, right? And that's
Yes.
and that's our that's the response, right? We just stop doing for ourselves. And
It's the
so
break. It's the mental, it's the sometimes when people think about mental breakdowns, they think that you are standing in the middle of the street, and you're just disheveled and you're screaming and hollering. But we don't have the luxury of that, right?
no.
The luxury of that is I'm just going to lay in the bed all day today.
Yeah.
I can't shower today. I can't clean the house today, right?
Yeah.
Because I still have to have this face that I put on when I walk outside. So I need to pull as much energy as I can together because I've had a week of flashbacks. And
Yeah.
and I can't fix, and I don't know how to fix that. But like you said, one of the big things that I feel like God gave me is that He gave me the ability to be a good resource. I create resources, I create courses because I know that having an offensive way of looking at mental health is so important. When you're on the defense, you're down. It's raining on you. You can't figure out how to get out of that puddle. But sometimes you just need those, it's the little tools. Like, I'm going to take a shower today, and that's all I can do.
Right.
Celebrate that shower. Celebrate
Exactly.
that shower. Did you comb through your hair? Celebrate combing through your hair. Were you able to
Yes.
make toast today? Did you eat the toast? Right? It's the
Yes.
little teeny celebration. You need to celebrate the smallest wins because it'll build you up. It creates this wonderful place where it's only for you in your head. Not everybody else isn't having a party for you. It's
Right.
you
It's
celebrating
you.
you, learning to trust you, learning to build confidence in you, learning to have self-reflection. Like, okay, so when I
Yes.
felt like this 2 weeks ago, when I took my shower, I felt better.
Mhm.
Right? And then I put on
Mhm.
some loose pants and I just sat in front of the window and the sun got on me. And I felt a little bit better. But
Yeah.
then I went back and laid down. And that's fine,
Mm. Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
it's the little steps. And that's what I think when we look at all of the self-help that we see a lot of the times, it's like these big movements. I went to a
Yeah.
spa and I spent $400. Well, if you've been sleep all day, it means that you probably missed your second job. So now you're
Right.
worried about money, which is stressing you out even more. So that
Right.
$400 spa day, that's not for you, baby.
No, right, right.
You
Yeah.
know?
I love talking about that with women because I think that's a huge misperception, of self-care that it involves going to it's all about beauty and, going to the spa, getting her nails done, her hair done, and all those things. And it's not. I mean, it can be if that's your thing and it fits in your budget and, hey, more power to you. I know a girl once a month, she takes 3 days and she goes gets a hotel room. She's like, husband, kids, I'll be back. That's her self-care.
Mm-hmm.
It works
Mm-hmm.
for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about what works for you. So
Yes.
if you have young kids and you got basketball practice and this and that and the husband and all the things going on, of course you're not going to be able to, at first say, I'm taking this hour, two
Yeah.
hours for
Yeah.
myself. Everybody's going to be looking at you like you crazy. And then you're really gonna feel guilty because you started too big,
Yeah.
right? Small things,
Small things.
small things,
It
small things.
it makes such a big difference. And when we're talking about self-love, it's not this like magical moment. A lot of the times it's being able to brush through your hair when you weren't able to brush through your hair. It's brushing your teeth when you felt like you were going to throw up because you were so nauseous from not eating, because you were so sad from that one thought. It's learning how
Mhm.
to deal with your sensory issues, because a lot of
Mhm.
people, when we go through trauma and you have that flashback and somebody touch your shoulder and now you can't get out of that. You don't know how to calm yourself down. It's learning how to do box breathing. It's learning how to look at a candle and focus on it and figure out how to have these small moments when I look at this candle, it reminds me of that one time that I went to the beach. And when I was at the beach, I could smell the salt, and the salt made me feel so. It's that moment,
That, yes,
you know?
yes.
And that's what makes such a big difference. But I'm like, that's why I loved talking with you. And I love your idea behind self-care, not just skincare, it's self-care, right? And
Yeah.
so, like, talk to us more about how women can participate, how people can find you, what it looks like to connect with you, and the things that you offer.
Yeah, well, you can learn more about me at natashanorris.com. If you're ready to start or enhance your self-care journey, my new mindfulness journal was just released. You can find that there. I'm at Skincare by CMG on socials. I do offer skincare consultations. So if you have questions or experiencing, challenges or concerns, I have no problem with you dropping me a note, and either myself or someone from my team will definitely help you out. Um, and my website is www.sbcmg.com, and that's where you can go subscribe to our email list, and you can get a free copy of my skincare ebook that walks you through how to discover your skin type, what ingredients work best with your skin type, and just a whole lot of other information that's going to be beneficial to you, especially if you're just starting your skincare journey. But I'm a servant. So any way that I can support others, I am here and willing and able. And so I just appreciate you for having me on. And this has been amazing.
This has been such a blessing. You guys, I was so excited. All I kept saying to my husband was, I said, I just want to be calm enough to receive the message, right? Because we're running around and trying to figure out how to make it look good and how to get all the things. But I was like, when the first time we talked, it felt like I was talking to a girlfriend. I was like, I was on
Yeah.
the side of the road, and usually if I have to sit on the side of the road, I'm a paranoid. I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna pull over when the car's gonna come. But I was
Yeah.
so excited to talk to you because your spirit is so
Oh,
welcoming, it's so bright. The
thank you.
blessings that you give when you talk, you don't know that you're giving them. That's the great thing about talking to you. You be dropping little baby gems all over the place, but
Thank you.
you didn't go through what you went through in vain. I know that we feel like the lessons are so harsh sometimes because they are so freaking harsh. Don't even get me started on people being responsible for taking care of kids and not even being able to do that.
Hmm.
But I also realized that when you can turn those tragedies, that trauma into triumph, when you learn how to embrace your power, when you can connect with something more divine than you are and reach out to others, you are one of the people that I feel is going to take our generation into the next space. You are
Oh,
doing great work, and I love how you're doing it. Like, that is, to me, I am always looking and to uplift women who are absolutely excelling at what they're doing, not because they're making money, not because they're dressing great, but because your spirit is bigger than you are. Your energy is bigger than you are. And I appreciate you so much for what you're doing.
thank you
So
so
much.
much.
So
Thank
I
you.
just want you to I want you to see yourself. I want you to see what you're doing and make sure you're taking moments to be like, Natasha girl. All right, I see you. Because we don't do, if you're overachiever like me, which you are, we forget, like, oh, I did that. Like,
Yeah.
I did that. Okay. And I didn't have to prove it to anybody. I just did it and went on to the next thing like it wasn't a thing.
Nothing. Yeah.
You know? So I thank you so much for being a part of this podcast. You are absolutely a blessing. This is not our last time talking at all,
No,
you know,
ma'am.
because now I'm not, like I tell people, and I didn't stalk you, but I was looking for you. And you guys, please follow Miss Natasha Norris. You will not only take care of your skin, she will take care of your heart, and it makes a difference. So you guys be good. Guys, sometimes you find just a kismic connection with someone, right? And it's not that you're bonding over trauma, you're bonding over the healing, you're bonding over the knowledge, you're bonding over the celebration, you're bonding over the success, you're bonding over the knowledge that you can go through it and get through it and get over it and build on it, right? There are these places and spaces in life where you get to connect with people who not only bring joy and light into your life, they can't even help but exude it. And I feel like Natasha's spirit is so much bigger than her. Her story is so much bigger than her. And she is a walking testimony that when you start doing the work, when you start seeing yourself as one of the new leaders in this healing journey and this self-care journey, that there is nothing that you can't do. And we are going to have moments when we have setbacks because that's life. But I truly believe that she is the new voice of skincare, of self-care, of learning what it looks like to not only learn from the trauma that we've had, but also help connect with others so that they realize they can get through it too. Oh gosh, this was so, so good. If you guys haven't joined this community yet, if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure what you're doing. Like, we want you to be a part of this community because we want to talk about healing. We want to talk about celebration. We want to talk about trauma in a growth way. We want to have moments where we bless each other, where we find, connection and spirit and faith and emotions. And, we understand how all of these things affect our spiritual selves, our physical selves, our financial selves, our emotional selves, our mental health, how it affects our sexual selves, and what it looks like to be in relation or in relationships with people, either platonic or romantic, and how our mental health really affects those different relationships. So we are so thankful that you listen to this podcast. We cannot wait to connect again, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Lovely out.
Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you found some healing, connection, and joy. Until next time, bye, loves.